So I have a friend who likes moths. Like, really likes moths. Heck, his name is literally Mr. Moth. And my friend's birthday is coming up. And guess who wants to 3D print my friend a moth for his birthday? Me! It's me! So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be 3D printing and painting a moth for my friend's birthday. Whenever I thought of doing this for his birthday, I got really excited. And I started looking for a moth on Thingiverse and other places like that have 3D prints. I would do anything to print this moth. I would make the print myself. I was so excited and really set on making a moth. But I did find one, thank goodness. It was actually on the Crowdy Print app, and I'm pretty sure it was made by Crowdy Print, so this is what I would be using. I then got everything ready and printed each piece out one by one. This in total took about 4 days to print. For those 4 days, I'd come home from school and immediately start printing to make sure they were done before I went to bed. I started this like 17 days before his birthday to make sure I would get it done in time. Everything printed out really smoothly, except one wing, it was kind of messed up. But I went on to sanding, and sanding, and sanding, and sanding. It was a lot of sanding, but it was worth it, because it turned out really nice. I used an electric sander thing, and I also used normal sandpaper. But after all of it, everything was pretty smooth, in my opinion. After sanding, I went on and covered everything in Mod Podge, so the paint would go on smoother later down the road. And I'm so glad I did this. It helped the paint stick so much. Yay! After all of that, I went in with a base coat of white. I didn't necessarily need to do this because it was a gray moth, but I wanted to do it just to make everything one color. This is how everything looked with this white base coat on. And at that moment, I realized I only have a vague memory of what his character looks like, so I needed a reference. Naturally, I hopped on Kayaklog Avatar Creator because that's where all of his OCs were, and I couldn't see his avatars like normal.
He had his inventory hidden.
At first, I was like, okay, I'll wing it. It might not be exactly right, but it'll look okay. But then I realized I did not know what the wings really looked like, so I did the only thing I knew to do. Thankfully, Ava did have a reference. She also seemed really excited by the gift too, and that made me even more excited. And thank you so much, Ava. You're a lifesaver. Anyway, I was then able to turn my focus to painting. I ultimately decided to paint everything first and then glue it later because it would save me so much trouble. While I was painting this, I was like, wow, this is one of my best 3D prints yet. It was actually really smooth and it turned out like perfectly. Anyway, this year I'm wanting to make more physical art, like painting, 3D printing, sewing, and maybe 3D modeling? But we'll get to that later. But I've really just wanted to get off my phone more and stop doom scrolling and things like that, you know? And it'll be better for my mental health anyways. And this is where I finish on the first night of painting. Night 2 was fairly uneventful. It was really just painting the same thing over and over again, so I really didn't record that much. One thing I learned from LPS customization, the eyes make or break their piece, and it counts for things like this too. So I was pretty scared going into making the eyes. I ended up making little gradients from its booty to its legs to make it look more interesting and just cooler. And at the end of night 2, this is where I stood with all the painting. Night 3 started by my stepdad letting me borrow his GoPro. This would help me record a lot, and it was really sweet of him. Thank you, my stepdad. A lot of this footage will be recorded by the GoPro now. I'm not quite sure if I like it better or worse than my phone, but it was a cool thing to experience. Night 3 was just basically repeating what I did on night 2 over and over again, so it doesn't look like much progress had been made, but there was a lot of progress. And this is how I ended that night. This was recorded like 2 days after the previous clip because I lost all my motivation and I ended up playing Stardew Valley. At this point I had basically everything finished other than the eyes. And this is how everything looked before it was glued together. So you might be thinking now, so I'm basically done now. All I have to do is glue, right? Well, no. My friend's character had a top hat and a little monocle, and I really wanted to make that. And what I wanted to do was make it myself. So, while I was doing all of this, I was also in the background learning how to work Blender. This first clip here is, I had not watched any of the tutorial videos or anything like that, so this is just me exploring the program myself and just trying to figure out how things worked. This, of course, did not work, so I had to go find tutorials and whatnot, because I couldn't even move my screen at this point. I couldn't figure out how to add shapes or anything like that, so I did watch some tutorials, and I was finally able to make it, somehow. I have no clue how I was able to do this. It was really confusing, gave me a big headache, but it's something that I've been wanting to learn for a while, and this is just finally giving me that motivation, you know? The resizing of it and like the printing part really gave me a lot of trouble, but I was able to figure it out in the end. Immediately after I modeled it, I went to print it out. He's just a distinguished gentleman, oh my gosh.
The next day, I got to painting it.
I then moved on to making the monocle, which didn't take as long, thankfully. I actually did learn a few things. I tried to model the chain, but once I printed it, it did not work, so I had to make it another way. I tried oven baked clay for the first time, and that completely failed too.
So what do I do? Do I go back to the drawing board? Do I give up completely? Nope. My stepdad gave me a literal chain, so that's what I used. You can't really tell what I'm doing here, but I'm opening that metal thing so I can put it on the 3D printed glass of the monocle. Anyway, after that, on to painting. So the final part before gluing is spraying all the pieces down with a clear coat, so they're waterproof and more or less scratch resistant. Actually, I lied. I have one more thing to do before I glue it all together. I'm actually glossing the eyes with clear nail polish to give it a shiny effect, you know? This was terrifying. I was so scared that it would get out of the eye and mess up, but it ended up turning out pretty good, so. Now it's finally time to glue this fella together. I started with the butt because I thought it'd be the easiest, and it was. The really odd thing about gluing this is how particular I had to be with it. I had to glue it in one certain spot and had to make sure the glue didn't get anywhere else to make sure everything would move. I did this better than with some parts than others, but overall it turned out fine, I think. His toes gave me quite the problem. I was able to get them all on there eventually, but I ended up stopped recording completely because I was going insane because of the feet. Oh my gosh. The only other thing that messed up was the wing I had mentioned earlier that printed weirdly. I ended up having to go with a piece of clay and re-sculpting it kinda, and it kinda worked. The wing was really wobbly, ended up falling off later multiple times, so it got on there for a little bit. I ended up going back in with hot glue. Anyway, I think it's now time for the grand reveal. I thank you so much for everyone watching, and I don't normally do videos like this, so I'm really sorry if things are weirdly paced or if I speak weird at all. To end the video, I'd like to say a happy birthday to my friend, even though it's kind of late now, but I really hope he did have a great birthday and that he liked the moth. Well, I'm not quite sure how to end this, so